Good. And
Afternoon, everybody. It's Litsoc. Welcome. Everybody probably went to see Legally Blonde last week. Yes? Yeah? Wasn't it fabulous? Yes. Hands up if you were in it. Brilliant. Well done.
Excellent.
Yeah. Did you have a good time, both of you?
Yeah.
Everybody? Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was excellent. Really good. And then they had the film on at the weekend. But you were much better. So today we are going to be talking about music and literature. That was suggested by Lulu. Thank you, and a wonderful selection of books on the table. There are masses of books that have songs and bands and really, things that actually talk about music or as a central theme, or it's part and parcel of the culture that they're describing. But first of all, we're going to talk about the really sad, this is the second sad literature death this term, and this is Marcus Sedgwick. I don't know whether you've heard of this, and whether you've read anything by Marcus Sedgwick. Floodland, for example.
Hands up if you've read any Marcus Sedgwick. That's probably the easiest thing.
Yes.
3 or 4 hands around the table.
Yeah.
That's good.
He came to see us, didn't he?
Yeah, years ago now.
Long time ago now.
This was his new book at the time.
That's right.
She was not invisible to promote this, but he was brilliant.
And I got Midwinter Blood signed.
Yes.
It was lovely, and he was just wonderful.
He was
Charming,
a very nice man.
Very nice man.
His talk was great.
Yeah, and a very special in the wide range of things that he wrote about, whether it was Romanian culture, the undead. This is Revolver, which is a story set in the Arctic Circle.
This is Romanian culture, by the way.
That's Romanian culture. My sword hand is
Vampires.
singing. Vampires. So if you're a fan of Twilight, then you might enjoy that. Much better than Twilight. Russia. He started out with a book called The Book of Dead Days, which was Gothic. And when he came, I asked him where he'd set it, and he said, it's a sort of mishmash of Prague and Venice, and it was really inventive. And then he took his family to live in the Alps because he wanted them to experience snow, maybe certainly as part of their childhood, maybe for the last time. And he wrote, as a result of that, he wrote this, The Monsters We Deserve, which is all based in Frankenstein and Mary Shelley, but a lot about where he lived as well. Then he wrote that non-fiction book,
Snowflake AZ. Is it AZ?
No, Snowflake AZ is different, isn't it?
So you're thinking of Snow. Sorry,
I was thinking
Snow.
of the book on snow,
yeah,
where he meditates.
That was an autobiography, essentially.
Autobiography,
yeah.
Writes about snow. And then he also wrote about current problems that a lot of people have across the world. Snowflake AZ is about diseases and debilitating health conditions that are caused by chemicals that we don't really understand yet. And a lot of people have retreated to the Arizona desert because it's clean and because it's away from the sorts of chemicals that might be affecting them, or even power lines, because power lines affect quite a lot of people as well. So he did a huge amount of research, and he himself had suffered from something debilitating, hadn't he? So it's a really sad death. There was the literary community were very shocked. He was only 54, which is extraordinary considering how much he'd written, and it's a big loss. But we love him, don't we? We
Absolutely.
Just really recommend.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of reasons to love him. For me, he just deals with really big ideas, and I recently did a Litsoc on him, and we explored some of those big ideas. Do check that Litsoc out, by the way. It was 2019, I think you did that one.
So it's on the.
So he deals with really big ideas, but he makes them very accessible. They're not. And Midwinter Blood is a good example.
Yes.
Because it's based around the painting, and it's set through the ages, and it explores lots of historical periods. So that's fantastic. He's a great speaker. He's a lovely guy. He's very supportive of other authors. When authors were sort of outpouring all their grief, they said what a lovely, supportive guy he was. And also, now this is the saddest thing of all for me, Carnegie Medal, he got shortlisted so many times.
He never got it.
But he never won it. I mean, he wasn't shortlisted last year, no, he certainly wasn't. But he's been shortlisted at least 4 times, including, he gives Revolver. If you go, 2010, he was shortlisted for Revolver.
Yeah, it's a travesty, really, isn't it?
Yeah, he really should.
It's a real shame.
He really should have won.
Yeah.
So, yeah, much missed. So, yeah, if those of you who haven't read his books, do read his books.
There's something for everyone.
Absolutely.
There really is. Including graphic as well, isn't there?
Yeah, he did the collaboration with his brother, Julian Sedgwick, on, what's it called? Dark Satanic Mills, which is, of course, lifted from Blake. And, of course, his brother was very sad at his passing. And, of course, his brother was also shortlisted for Carnegie last year, just to plug that one, Tsunami Girl. So, yeah, so that's all we can say, really. Just seriously read him.
Yeah, really worth reading. So we'll go on to music and literature. We put a lot of things on the table, from Lord of the Rings, Nick Hornby's High Fidelity, which the older ones of you might have enjoyed. There's also a film with John Cusack about record shop.
Jack Black's in that as well.
Yes, Black as well. Unequal Music, which is quite a read, but amazing book about the influence of music across lives. Half-Blood Blues, which is about black singers and their status in Nazi Germany, hence the the Arch in Berlin. So you might have your own choices you want to talk about. I know some of you do. I'm going to not start with me today. Do you want to start?
Yeah, right.
Yeah?
Okay.
I will take
coming into the seat? Yeah.
Seat.
So we're going to do. So there will be an element of musical chairs.
Yes, indeed. No musical chairs this afternoon.
The music, let's
Yeah. What would be your choice of music?
Well, yeah, quite.
Fast and Furious.
Right, so I've got Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Anyone heard of this author? Yes, of course you have. So Malibu Rising, and her latest is called Carrie Soto Is Back. Now, Miss Rio and I were talking about this the other day. She seems to be quite interested in celebrity culture, and the sort of unique pressures that brings. Now, Daisy Jones and the Six is the story of a fictional band, a 1970s band, and basically, has anyone heard of Fleetwood Mac, the band? This is basically a fictionalized version of Fleetwood Mac. So for Stevie Nicks, you've got Daisy Jones, and then for Lindsey Buckingham, what's his name? I can't remember. Phil something? I don't know. No, I honestly can't remember. Yeah, it's been a while since I've read it, but it's really. It's fantastic because what it does, it's structured in a sort of interview style. So you've got interviews, it's broken into different periods. The rise of the Six, Daisy Jones is joining the band, little italics, so it's like very vividly imagined. It's like very perfectly constructed and built. And you have Billy, that's who it is. Billy, he's Lindsey Buckingham. And you have interviews with them and they give their perspectives on the rise of Daisy Jones and Six, and of course, just like Fleetwood Mac, just when they were at the peak of their powers, it all fell apart and all imploded, as often happens with rock bands. They can be given to wanton self-destruction. Now, has anyone read any of her other books? Has anyone read this book, actually, first of all? Has anyone read any of her other books? You've heard of her, because you probably see her advertised all the time, because she's become a bit of a bestseller. But yeah, the strength of the best strength of her writing is character. She's really good at building characters. They got really good, solid backstories. You can picture them, you can vividly imagine them. And of course, she does borrow from real life examples, because there is a lot of glamorization of the rock scene, particularly perhaps in the 70s and 80s, the ages of prog rock. And it's very fun, it's very easy to read, and it's just very, very insightful and very deconstruction of the glamour surrounding celebrity culture, because Malibu Rising, there's a tennis prodigy, there's a surf prodigy, and it's examine all the neuroses of those characters and how they interact with each other.
Also the hard work that goes into
And also absolutely. Of course. Yeah, look, making an album is not easy. Making an album is very hard. So if you like Fleetwood Mac, you should definitely read this. But even if you don't like, or haven't heard of Fleetwood Mac, if you do like rock music in general, or bands and the process of how they make music, then you should definitely check out Daisy Jones and the Six. So that's my
And is it set?
recommendation.
Is it set in the past, or is it?
Oh no, it's very much set in the past. Yeah, it's very much set in.
In the period of.
Yeah, the albums were on every turntable. They sold at arenas from coast to coast. Their sound defines an era, and then on 12th of July 1979 they split.
Right. Yeah.
So obviously it will talk about various musical movements. I've already mentioned prog rock, but the summer of punk as well, and all the other sort of big 1970s music genres.
Yes, was coming out was massive. That was it.
Yeah, exactly.
Those of us who just thought, oh, okay, they're really good. That was the end of that. A bit like the Eagles.
Yeah, stars. That's it. A lot of the great bands, the stars burn very brightly, and then they're gone. So there we go. Okay, right. Who would like to go next? Yeah, you're welcome. Who would like to go next? Marianne, you got one?
So this is a book that you will probably all have heard of because of the musical adaptation, The Phantom of the Opera. And I must say, this book is crap.
Mr. Fisk, Mr. Fisk might have to insert a bleep there.
It's the storyline is like, it's pretty decent, but it's very long, it's very winding. There's too many, it's really hard to get into, and it's just kind of boring. It's just a pretty mid book.
But a much better musical.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm getting onto. The rock opera actually is absolutely incredible. I love it with all my heart. It is one of my favourite operas, rock operas, films, whatever, ever. Because, oh my god, the music, the leitmotifs, it just really hits the spot, you know? And it's very interesting how it's staged as well. I'm probably just going to talk about the opera now. I'm sorry, the book is kind of...
Okay, go for it.
It's pretty...
So what have they done? They've just extracted the plot.
They've extracted the plot and they've written. It's like you know how they turn like Legally Blonde and Oliver Twist into all these kinds of musicals, except the book was really mid and they've turned it into this insane, which is the genius of Andrew Lloyd Webber. I love him so much, and especially the film. The film is really interesting. I love the film because one, the Phantom is played by this guy who I think he's Scottish, and my mum watched it the other day and he was like. That's that guy. I thought he was, and then he has this most he's a normal actor, but he has the most insane voice, and it's just the way it's written and just anyway. The book is pretty bad. The opera is insanely good. That's mainly all I have to say on it. Yeah.
Okay.
Why is the opera insanely good?
Who's seen The Phantom of the Opera here?
Oh yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, sorry.
You've seen it. I've seen it.
If you haven't seen it like live, watch the film because the film's also really good.
Why is it insanely good?
Oh, it just itches that spot, you know, when like
it's
you've
so
got.
Epic and
It's just
beautiful
so
to look at.
epic, and it's got those light misty bits. It's got those, and the costumes are incredible as well. And it's just
Production values then.
yeah, it's just ooh
Hits the spot.
yeah.
And of course, it's all set, isn't it, around a theatre as
Yeah.
well? So it's a sort of play on how a theatre and opera works, let alone the mystery as well. Yeah.
And I also
So
find it kind of funny because Christine's the main character, kind of would have been like fully able. She was like, yeah, sure, I'll love you, whatever. But then he had to go murder a bunch of people, so you know, then she was less into him. Yeah. Anyway, Phantom of the Opera, pretty boring, but film's incredible. Go watch it.
Okay, pretty definitive there. Thank you, Marianne. Thank you.
Book 0, musical 6.
Yeah, I think that's a good summation.
Who's going to go next?
Who else has got something that they brought along they'd like to talk about?
I'll talk about it.
Yeah, Lulu, you got something in mind, haven't you?
Oh, yeah, maybe. I don't know. Have I spoken about the Handmaid's Tale opera before?
No.
What? Yeah.
Okay. Oh, can someone pass me the Wizard of Oz as well?
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay. I'm going to continue Marianne's rant about musical theatre because if you don't know me, I really like musical theatre. And before the summer holidays, I went and saw the Handmaid's Tale opera at the London Consortium with my friend, and it was amazing. And I've read the book Handmaid's Tale. I don't know if I would recommend it or not to this audience, but I would read it maybe when
Year 10 upwards.
Yeah. But it's a book about kind of purity culture and religion and feminism and like attitudes towards sex and relationships and all like meshed up together. I would recommend it, but as I said before, when you're year 10 and up. But basically, sorry, this is not going anywhere. But I saw the musical, the opera, at the end of the summer term last time. It was so good. I would really recommend it, except that it was only on for 4 performances and then it failed. And when I came out of the theatre, I heard some guy go, "That was the worst thing I've ever seen in my life," and I was like, no, it wasn't. But yeah, it was fantastic. The music was amazing. I couldn't tell you anything about opera as a genre, but as someone who hadn't seen an opera before, thought it was great. My friend didn't like it either. But the set was really simplistic, and they didn't censor any of the book, which is good and bad, because obviously it's an uncomfortable experience, but I think it's such an uncomfortable experience that you get the message of the book far more. So I just think The Handmaid's Tale opera is a good example of transition between literature and music that works really well. I haven't seen the TV show. Have you seen the TV show?
I've seen
bits of
two
it.
of them.
Yeah, I kind of ran out of patience.
I'm afraid
with
I
it.
ran out of patience too. I found it turgid is the
Ponderous,
word.
slow,
Yeah.
and not what that would intend. You know, that's why she wrote the Testaments. That's what she.
Oh right, okay, drama. Okay.
Because it's only the first series that is the Handmaid's Tale book, and then it
It's
goes
such
off
a
from there.
shame because I thought the way that they'd opened it up and showed, you know, from the office and what was going on, I thought that was excellent, and then it just sort of lost power.
Yeah,
didn't it?
it had a lot of potential.
Yeah.
Not least because of stuff like that, and you know Elizabeth Moss is fantastic
Yeah, she
as
is,
well. But it's squandered opportunity. So yeah.
Nice. Okay, well then maybe we can definitively rank. I actually enjoyed the opera more than the book. Unpopular opinion.
I don't know the
So
opera.
maybe-
I don't know the opera, so
No,
So
it's,
maybe-
sometimes that transformation is, you know, it distills it and
Yeah.
you get more out of it. And certainly with opera, because it's supposed to be a combination of every single genre: music, set, story, emotions. That's, you know.
Yeah, it was beautiful. I really liked it. And then that got me thinking about other adaptations of books that I've seen on the stage. Obviously, does anyone know what musical, well, except for The Wizard of Oz, does anyone know what musical came out of The Wizard of Oz?
Wicked.
Yes. Has anyone seen Wicked? Yes. Yes. Wicked is amazing. I would go and see it. It's still on the West End.
Is it better than the Wizard of Oz musical?
Yes.
Yes. Interesting.
And I was a
Do you
big
agree?
Wizard of Oz
I haven't seen the
nerd.
Wizard of Oz musical, but
Right.
it is amazing.
Oh, that's another throwback. Did anyone? I don't know if you guys are too young for this. There was an Andrew Lloyd Webber TV show where they got all of these girls and it was like the X Factor, and you competed to play the part of Dorothy. Yeah,
Yes,
and it
that's
was on
right.
before
I
Doctor
love
Who
that
on a
show.
Saturday night, and I used to watch it. I was obsessed. And then I saw the play that resulted out of that TV show. It was so good. But unfortunately, the Wizard of Oz musical is not as good as Wicked. Wicked is a story of Elphaba the Green Witch, before before and during the plot of the Wizard of Oz. It's just fantastic. The set's amazing. It's been on the West End for like 12 years or something crazy like that. I've seen it twice. I would recommend. The other book, obviously, Legally Blonde. We've already spoken about this. Legally Blonde's my favourite musical of all time. It's amazing. Better than the film, and presumably better than the book. And the other thing I saw this year, two things. To Kill a Mockingbird on the West End. Has anyone seen To Kill a Mockingbird on the West End?
I think I'm going to see it.
It's very good. And I love To Kill a Mockingbird. It's one of my favourite books. So it was definitely... But that's not a musical, unfortunately. I don't know how they would do that. The other thing I saw, Emmeline Pankhurst's granddaughter wrote a picture book for children about inspiring women in history, set in a museum, where this girl goes and looks at all of these historical figures in a museum, and she gets trapped in this mystical world of like Emmeline Pankhurst and Sacagawea and Jane Austen and etc. And I saw that on stage at the Rose Theatre in Kingston. I think it was the night before I saw To Kill a Mockingbird, so two very different experiences. And it was just fantastic, and I wasn't expecting it to be good, unfortunately. But my expectations were so low, and it was so amazingly high, the experience that actually happened. It's like, has anyone seen Six, the musical?
Yes.
It was like Six, but for younger audiences and older audiences, because I really liked it. So yeah, I would recommend. It was called Fantastically Great Women, and I
have that book at home.
And I would also recommend the book, even though I haven't read it. But yeah, that is my short rant about musical theatre.
They've got
Good rant.
They've got Olvik are doing a new musical called Sylvia, which is starring Beverly Knight and will be about Sylvia Pankhurst
Nice.
and suffragettes.
Always write down what Miss Huntley says about things like that. Anyway, that's my one advice. Anyway, thank you.
All right, thank you, Lulu.
Thank you, Lulu, for all those recommendations. Thank you. That's great. Anybody else?
You did get my email, right? Say, bring along something. Elna, Hannah, Josie, any of you along?
Who can talk about Rooftopers? Somebody could be talking.
Oh, Rooftopper's a good one, yeah.
Even though we haven't got the text. So some of you have read it. Who's read Rooftopers?
Year 8 would have. I was going to know year 8s, though.
Yeah,
Well,
but
got Juno.
Oh, you got
got
Juno,
extract
sorry.
of it.
You read the extract, didn't you?
Yeah.
Do you remember what it's about?
A girl who wants to go find her mother because I think she thinks that she's still alive. And the thing about music was she was found as a baby in a cello case because there was a shipwreck, and I think she thought that both her parents had died, but it turned out that her mother survived. And yeah.
Is that the one with the castle? Where like her and her two friends go to like this castle and then they're going up and then she gets trapped upstairs. Was that another book?
That's another book.
That's another book.
Because I read one of her other books. I always got confused if I read Rooftopers or the other one. Don't remember what
Yeah,
it was.
that's the other one.
Oh, The Good Thieves. That's The Good
That's
Thieves.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
now I remember.
Yeah.
Rooftopers, to me, that remains her best book. And yeah, there's the obvious musical collection of, being found in the cello case, the mother who's a musician. But it's also very musical, and the prose is...
She got adopted, but the person who found her in the case and rescued her, I think it was from the Titanic.
I think you're right, Diana, yes.
And the person who he saved her as a baby, brought her up, and like she loved music because she was found in the case, and that was like part of her life, just like up until the story starts, and still like as it goes on. It's just so, yeah, it's cute.
And then there's the because actually Catherine Rundell, she was in the news last week. She won the Bailey Gifford Prize last week.
Is she?
Yes.
Oh,
For her book
I
on
missed
John
that.
Donne.
Oh.
She's a really interesting person because she went to Oxford, and she got very familiar with the roofs of Oxford, and you can get up to the roofs and walk along them because they're usually flat. Quite a lot of them are flat, and she learnt how to, what's it called, free running.
Yeah.
Yes. So that all that goes into Rooftopers.
Yeah, the descriptions of being on the roofs and like climbing up. I wanted to do that.
Yeah.
Like the way that it's described, it's so vivid. There's one scene where she's like tight ropes across a building, like in a gap in between two buildings. It's just like you can picture yourself there doing it with her. It's really good.
Yeah. Well, Rundell has sort of done all this.
First-hand experience.
Yeah, she's a first-hand experience. And then she finished her undergraduate course, did really well. And then she took the All Souls exam.
Mm-hmm.
Now, All Souls is it's an Oxford college where it's not undergraduates, it's not BA degrees. It's you can only be admitted, and if you pass this really, really difficult exam. She passed it, flying colours. And so she's sort of led this double life, really. She's a children's author, or an author, all sorts of things, but also an accredited academic. So I was reading about her at the weekend. I think it was in the Observer, and then her book about John Donne. Now, quite a lot of people don't like it, but it's published and it's out, and it's a reinterpretation of John Donne, the poet who was a contemporary of Shakespeare, who lived a lot longer. He was another really interesting person. So all her sort of lived experience goes into her literature as well, and that cello
I don't think she does play the cello. I'm not sure she does, but she's certainly got a love of music, and that comes out in Rooftoppers, doesn't it? Yeah. So, all right. Well, if nobody else, I'm going to.
There's Miss Rio as well.
Oh, Miss Rio. Miss Rio, come and talk then.
Okay, I didn't have a lot to say.
That's okay.
Wait, do you think that Little Woman would count?
Little Women.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like the piano.
Yes. Of course.
I mean, like, I can talk more as well if you want me, certainly, but you know.
No, it's all right.
We'll just-
Can I get through?
I kept mine short because I thought everyone would have something to say.
Okay, I was going through all the periodicals and I came across English Review, and there was an article that is about jazz in The Great Gatsby. So it kind of got me thinking about how important music is to the storyline of that book. Because basically it's kind of the core that runs throughout the whole story, you know, without... do you all know the story of The Great Gatsby, more or less? Well, it's set in the 20s, and it's this about a man called Gatsby, and he basically is pining after this woman that he used to be in love with, and he buys a house just sort of a little while away from her, and he throws all these massive parties in the hope that one day she'll come to one of them, but he doesn't ever attend any of the parties. He's not bothered. It's more just so he might see her. And so without the music, these things wouldn't happen, you know, it wouldn't have such a big impact on the story. And I thought that was really interesting. And this article is just basically all about that. And it said, Great Gatsby, what does it say here? The references to music create patterns in the prose and structure of the novel that could be said to echo the nature of jazz itself, which is kind of interesting. So
Yes,
it's, the way it's written is also very jazz-like. And obviously Gatsby is set in the 20s, which was called the Jazz Age.
Yeah.
You know, it's literally called the Jazz Age. You know, it was an era completely summed up by jazz music in terms of, you know, culture and society and fashion and things like that was all set around, you know, do you know what a flapper is? You know, the 1920s dresses. They were kind of these really beaded dresses. You can see someone wearing them
Very
here.
short, weren't they,
Very
compared to
short,
what had
yeah.
gone before? Yeah.
Beaded, covered in feathers and things like that. And they were designed to look good when you were dancing to jazz music, because the way jazz music is written, when you were moving in a certain way, your dress would move as well. So it was just a whole time periods based around music. And so, you know, the fact that that's when the Gatsby is set is completely makes sense, and it's such an important part of the story. Yeah, but I thought that was really interesting. And yeah, it's talking about the prose being written
Jazzy.
in a way that is quite like jazz music, kind of just ties it all together quite well. So yeah, I thought that was...
I don't know if
pretty
any
fun.
jazz fans around the table.
Yeah, any jazz fans?
I
Sort
play
of.
jazz on the trumpet.
Very nice.
Excellent. So how would you sum up, you know, what defines jazz to you?
It's just a lot more fun than other pieces.
There you go. So that's a good sell. But yeah, it's free form, isn't it? You get to improvise
Yeah.
more, and it goes.
Yeah, you
You
start
know-
with something that might be familiar, and you
Mhm.
put
Yeah.
your own interpretation on it. Yes,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not verse chorus.
No.
It's
Short and sharp,
very
and you
much,
can dance
and
to
it
it,
goes
yeah.
in different directions, and it's
Yeah,
yeah, and so the book, the prose of the book is similar.
similar to that. So yeah, there you go.
Excellent. Thank you. Good find, Miss Rio.
Yes, that was very serendipitous.
And of course, what's also interesting is because jazz came out of the African American community, but
Yes.
it sort of was adopted
Mhm.
and expanded across the world with in all sorts of cultures, wasn't it?
Mm.
And out of that came all sorts of other forms.
Yeah, it was kind of club music, wasn't it? And
Yes,
then
very much so.
yeah.
Yeah.
people with lots of money would kind of sneak away to these clubs, and it eventually kind of...
Yeah, and we've got the Harlem
filtered
Renaissance that
out.
comes out of it
Yes.
as well, haven't we? With the poetry, Langston
Mm.
Hughes, and as well as the James Baldwin eventually,
Mm.
and
And
Cotton
Elvis.
Club. And Elvis, yeah.
It all kind of rock and
Yeah.
roll comes from jazz, doesn't it? It all
It
kind
does,
of...
yeah, absolutely.
And he, you know...
Yeah.
But there you go.
Thanks, Miss Rio.
Anyone else had anything? Yeah?
Dave Roll wrote a book,
Oh, yeah?
and my dad really liked it. I haven't read it yet,
Mhm.
but he really liked it, and it was about how he dealt with the death of Taylor Hawkins, I think.
Has he written a book about that already? Because
That was
that
very
wasn't that
quick,
long
yeah.
ago.
That wasn't that
Yeah.
long ago.
'Kay, he did write an autobiography,
Yeah, I think he wrote another one.
He's written another one since. I didn't know this.
No, I didn't
Because
know.
Taylor Hawkins, it was only a few months ago.
September, was
Yeah.
it? I was thinking
Was
about
it?
this
Is
the
it
other
only
night.
Or maybe just before we broke up or something. It was whatever it was not. Because I remember you and me talking about it.
We talked about the concert, didn't we?
Yeah.
During a Litsoc.
Yeah.
If you're a
Um,
celebrity, you can write books in amazing speed.
Well, yes.
Like Liz Truss book.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what this book is called, by any chance?
No.
No. Okay, I'll have to look that up because that would be interesting to read. Definitely.
Mm.
Or it might be something like a really small book in a magazine article or something like that.
Ah, okay.
It was a piece of writing about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So I'll do
still,
a whole
It might
book.
be a
It's
really
worth
short
remembering.
book,
Mm.
or like a couple pages or something.
Yeah, but yeah, right. Yeah, definitely
Yeah.
worth sticking out, worth remembering. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
all right. Thank you, Miss Rue.
Well, yeah, Shakespeare. Plenty of music in Shakespeare
Mm-hmm.
songs.
If music be the food of life. Play on.
Yeah, there you go.
Absolutely. We've got 12 9, haven't we? We've got As You Like It,
A Midsummer Night's
Midsummer Night's Dream, although there's only one song in Midsummer Night's Dream, isn't there?
Because in year 7, I remember very vividly you playing.
What did I play?
You got the lyrics up on the board and the song from when they were in the forest, I think. Wait,
Oh, no, what musical?
I remember the book now. It's the one that we read, the last book in year 7. The guy, I was looking through my year 7 book the other day. The blue guy, the guy that's really cold and no one can
Oh,
see.
Cold Tom.
Cold Tom.
When did I get up then?
He got up. and when
In
he
your
was
lessons,
born-
certainly anything goes. Let's be honest.
I was, funny enough, I was with year 7, I was playing the overture to Midsummer Night's Dream this morning, but that's the Mendelssohn.
Yeah, we listened to when they were like in the forest.
Yes.
There was like this piece of music, really long, and it's like it was about like it's a story of like this person.
Oh, Tam Lin.
Yeah, that one.
Oh, Emily, thank you. You reminded me. Yes,
I was
Ballad of
thinking
Tam Lin, and it was. Yes, that's a really famous song, and oh, who was it? Because she was a fabulous folk singer of the 1960s. Oh,
I'm
I'll
not.
have to
I'm
look.
not
Yeah,
strong on
too
folk
niche
of the
for me, I
1960s.
think,
I'm afraid.
yeah.
Sandy Denny?
Sandy Denny.
It was Sandy
Oh.
Denny. There we go. That was a guess. That was a guess.
Sandy Denny. Yes, yes, and I played it to you, didn't I? Because it is a lot of it is based on that story. Yeah.
Yeah, because we looked because I was looking at we made lots of notes about in year 7, and I needed them for this year for my essay this morning. So I was looking through and I just saw my drawing of this blue guy. It's a really bad drawing. He's just covered in blue with like little brown hair. And you were like, "Well done, it's a great drawing." I'm like,
It
it's
is.
really not a
No,
great
and
drawing.
Emily, it really told me that you'd understood what he looked like. Yeah,
There you go.
yeah. He
Right.
was, because he's cold all the time.
Miss Huntley, do you want to
I will.
take the seat? Is there anyone else want to?
12th night as well.
Josie, have you got something? Do you want to, Miss Honey, Josie just thought of something.
I did.
Josie, we got Josie before you.
Yes, yeah, that's fine.
That's right. Shakespeare songs are really weird because like they do it at the end of tragedies as well. So it's like
Well, they always have a
everyone's
jig at the end of tragedies,
everyone's
yes.
dead and then they just start dancing.
Yeah, the dead rise
Oh,
and
yeah,
dance.
no,
We should
okay.
point that out. They don't like. They're not lying on a stage dancing.
It's really weird, absolutely.
It's to make sure everyone goes home with a smile on their face.
Well,
It's a great
exactly.
tradition.
You have to ask Emma Smith tonight what she thinks about songs at the end of
I
tragedies.
can't go out to do
Oh, okay, all right. Are you watching Emma Smith? We've got a pop talk tonight, everybody. Yeah. On LGBTQ.
Yes, yes. And Emma Smith is one of them.
Yeah.
Prestigious academic,
Yeah,
written some very good books,
absolutely.
including one on Shakespeare.
Good.
Anyway, Josie, sorry, you
Go
were.
on, Josie, yes.
So I just thought of A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which is the Hunger Games prequel, and because one of the main characters herself ends up writing a lot of music in it, but I also found it quite interesting because one of the songs is in the Hunger Games, the original book, and it's seen as like a symbol of like rebellion
in that, and it's not allowed. And I thought it was quite an interesting. It's quite interesting how music is often can be a symbol of like freedom and expression, and how throughout history it's also been used if there's been restrictions on what you can listen to and things as a form of oppression on people, because music plays such a big part in so many people's lives.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's a form of protest almost. Yeah, and there's many examples of that through history in like certain.
Good thought, Josie.
It's a really good thought. Yeah.
Great book, but the ending let me down. I haven't read The Hunger Games. I wanted to read them in order, and that ending, it was just so quick and just finished, and I was like,
yeah, it was a lot of build up for.
Just for that.
Nothing worse, huh?
I spent ages on that book as well. I was like, this is going to be such a great book. Oh, look, it's an ending. They're finally going to have... No, we're done. I've got to read The Hunger Games now. See if there's any more.
The Hunger Games are really good.
I've changed my opinion since...
Have you?
Yeah.
Since the Great Debate?
Yeah. I mean, I know that I was leading the Divergent side.
You were.
And I know that the Hunger Games side won, and now I'm on the side of Hunger Games.
I think Divergent won, didn't it?
No.
I thought Divergent won.
It didn't.
Why have I got in my head that it did? I'll have to rewatch the video. I remember being, okay.
Well, it's like when we did The Austen and Jane Eyre. Jane Eyre is one of my favourite books. You know, it's not, I was, you know.
Yeah, but the chairperson could have done a better job in ensuring there was...
No!
Yes.
Down in Litsoc history, won't
I can't tell Miss Honey to be quiet.
Yes, you can. You're the chairperson. For that Litsoc, you can. Anyway, no, I'm only joking.
No,
joking.
How dare you?
How dare she? Josie, do you know about the use of Beethoven's Fifth during the Second World War?
No.
Anybody know about this?
Yeah.
Josie? Do you know? Sorry.
Wasn't it the one that in like the first few bars in like Morse code it was signalled victory because it was at the end of World War? Yeah, I can't remember which one it was. Which World War it was?
World War Two.
World War Two, and the Allies had just won, so he wrote the song, and in the beginning in Morse code it was victory.
Yeah, it was used as a signal on the radio to tell resistance groups across Europe that there were messages coming. And they use Beethoven's Fifth because it's so famous. It's the knock at it's known across the music world as the knock at the door. Sometimes not such a good thing, but it's sometimes a good thing too, because Beethoven was writing at a time when Germany was not, and Austria were under a lot of pressure from Napoleon, and although he started out enjoying the freedom under Napoleon, it gradually became clear that he was becoming much more of a tyrant, and so there's all that in the background as well. Victory, Morse, and then of course we've got Morse and his
Inspector Morse,
Mr. Gibbons.
Mr. Gibbons' favourite, yes,
and his signature tune, which is his name in.
See, this is what I was saying. You could literally,
you
could just incorporate in so many, and we could talk for hours, couldn't we?
Yeah. Emily, do you want to talk about Little Women and the piano, or? Yeah.
We should do word association Litsoc, where you have 1 minute to talk about something and you have to jump off what the last person said.
That's a good thought.
Okay.
Might do that, but maybe we could do that for World Book Day rather than our book slam.
Yeah, why not? It's about time we changed that, actually, isn't it? So yeah, okay.
10 years, I think so.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, Emily, please.
Little Women.
I loved Little Women, and especially in the movie, at least, the scenes of piano with Beth playing the piano in Laurie's house. Yeah, there's like, oh, it's up there, Little Woman. And it's in Little Women where like they sit around the piano as a family, and they like Beth plays piano and they like start singing. It's just like it's nice and heartwarming, like Christmas and everything. It just like reminded me of, you know, like family. It was just seeing them happy for once. And other times in the book, it was quite sad. The books.
Well, yeah,
with Beth. But you know, whenever the pieces that she played as well. It was like she was like the most quietest one with the piano, and it's like she was so good at it, but like loads of people just overlooked her. But she had like real skill with that with music.
She did, and she's one of the most empathetic of
Yeah.
them all as well, isn't she? The compassion for the families around them in Concord. Yeah, she's a great character.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Because that reminds me also of Sense and Sensibility. Marianne's use of the piano to express her emotions, and same with Beth. It's Jane Austen played not so well, but she there's a piano in her last house in Chawton, and if you go down there, they encourage you to play it. So it might be. I'm sure Louisa Walcott also played as well.
Yeah.
It's important. Yeah. Thank you, Emily.
Oh, thanks, Emily. Thank you.
Okay. Janet, have you got anything else? No? Anybody else? No? All right, I'll finish up now. Okay, I brought a couple of things. You know our writer David Almond? People?
Skellig.
Yeah. And
name is
Kit's
Mina.
Wilderness, My Name is Mina, Heaven Eyes, A Song for Ella Gray, mostly set up in the northeast, in Geordieland, and I think I bought this during lockdown actually, and it maybe no 2021 it came out, so after that, but it's two time frames. Sylvia is outside the city. She's very used to Newcastle, which is a great big city, and she's used to a life there. She's now out in the country. She misses her friends. She hasn't got a phone signal. She's deep in rural England, north, and there's a forest, so it's quite intriguing. And she hears music one night, and it's a flute, but it's actually a bone flute, which has a particular sort of resonance. And it gradually becomes clear that music is going to be a big motif of this story, but also that the person she meets is not from her own time, but from the long, long, long past. Possibly even before anything was written down, but music was much more important. I really liked it. Just some lovely moments, and the call of the wild, really, out in the deep rural area where you can see the sky very easily, the stars. And what David Almond feels for his native northeast, it was really special, and the music is delightful. So if anybody plays an instrument, whether a flute or not, I think they'd like it. And you see them in her hair.
Oh yeah,
The notes as well. Yeah. I also bought a poem, which this is a book anthology that Caroline Duffy put together. From what she did was she asked poets to find a poet they really like, and then to write a poem, sort of, as I say, in answer back. And Robin Robertson, whose work I don't really know, chose a poem called Allegro by Thomas Tranströmer, translated from the Swedish, and it's called Allegro. After a black day, I play Haydn and feel a little warmth in my hands. The keys are ready, kind hammers fall. The sound is spirited, green, and full of silence. The sound says that freedom exists, and someone pays no taxes to Caesar. I shove my hands in my Haydn pockets and act like a man who is calm about it all. I raise my Haydn flag. The signal is, we do not surrender, but want peace.
The music is a house of glass standing on a slope. Rocks are flying, rocks are rolling. The rocks roll straight through the house, but every pane of glass is still whole. So it starts with Haydn, who was before Mozart, and without Haydn there would have been no Mozart or Beethoven, and then Robin Robinson writes another poem in answer to it, and he talks about playing the piano and understanding how to read a score.
I think Robin Robertson was shortlisted for the Booker Prize a few years ago with
Was
The
he?
Long Take.
Oh, the
Set in Europe is a long sort of prose poem.
that's
Because
right.
he's predominantly
I
a
remember
poet.
now. Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's who he is.
Yeah. So his poem is called Ictus, metrical stress, the beat of the pulse, a stroke, seizure. That's a word I don't know. So, yes.
I like that idea in this book to respond to a poem.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's Liz Lockhead, who responds to John Donne. There's Ruth Fainlight, who responds to Elizabeth Bishop. There's Rumi, who's responded to by Imtiaz Darka. It's lovely. And then there's one of my favourites, Kafavi, Ithaca, who's responded to by Theo Dorgan, who it's written for Leonard Cohen. It's good. Yes. Yeah, Kafavi's wonderful. He really is. Okay, everybody. Thank you for all your contributions. They were fabulous. And still more to talk about. There's always more. Captain Corelli's Mandolin, The Lord of the Rings, where there's plenty of singing.
Tom Bombadil. But
Tom
not
Bombadil.
just Tom Bombadil.
All the elves
Elven
sing
song,
as
yeah.
well. Yeah, absolutely. And many others.
Baron
So thank you
Luthien.
very much. Lovely to see you.
Thank
everybody.
you. Thank you, everyone. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.